And I know that this is something that you wanted to get to, so we'll get to it now. So evidently, reports of U.S. sailors in Middle East trying to jump ship spark outcry. U.S. senators call for inquiry into the USS Lincoln has record-long period without port stop amid war on Iran.
I honestly, this is very upsetting. And I have been on an aircraft carrier. I've been on the USS Saratoga, and I actually got a pretty decent tour, like, of the bunks and the bathrooms and the whole behind the scenes. And it was quite disgusting. And they have lead in their water and all of this stuff. And that was in summer of 92 off of the French Riviera. And those guys were living. This ship or this aircraft, this carrier, that Lincoln, has been at sea for like 208 days, which is a record in modern naval history. And these sailors are losing their minds, rightfully so. Also, they've taken chaplains and such types of people off the boats, not just the carriers. Yeah, those guys got cut out. We're not having counseling. We're not having that. The food is limited. This is horrifying. They haven't been at port in 208 days, I believe. And yes, my understanding was that 6 different crewmen have jumped overboard on this aircraft carrier. That is astounding. Astounding.
Can you imagine? I mean, think about it. They were left to die. They're being left to die.
They'd rather be dead. That's the point. They know what happens when you do that. They would rather do that than stay on this carrier for one more second. That's how bad it is on there. That these sailors who were trained for this cannot live that anymore. That's how bad it is. And then you've got Kegsbreth defending this shit.
Well, of course, he's gonna, yeah.
He's sitting there coked out talking about this narco thing, and I'm thinking, is he like sampling all the product?
He's gonna.
Like, this is the guy in charge of these people here. That's who's in charge of these guys.
You know how you see some of those movies where like certain guys just don't realize they're walking into a room where they're about to, basically get the mafia treatment. Like Kegsbreth, if he goes out mafia style, it's not going to surprise me the least, because he's the kind of guy that's just asking for it. Lawmakers in the United States have raised the alarm over reports of dire conditions on the aircraft carrier deployed to the Middle East amid the U.S.-Israel war with Iran, including accounts of sailors trying to jump overboard. The response has included a direct appeal to the Pentagon chief, Pete Kegsbreth, asking for further information about conditions on board the USS Abraham Lincoln, and demanding that a bipartisan congressional delegation be allowed to visit the ship. Yeah, good luck with that one. Scroll down, please. In a letter to Kegsbreth, Democratic Senator Richard Blumenthal noted that the aircraft carrier, with more than 5,000 U.S. sailors and Marines, has been continuously at sea for a record length of nearly 7 months. That surpasses any previous deployment of a U.S. aircraft carrier without a port stop. Blumenthal noted that the vessel's mission was meant to end in May, but it has been repeatedly extended amid the war. Conflict remains in the state of grinding limbo, with a memorandum of understanding to end the fighting largely defunct and further diplomatic efforts stalled. How about food? How about basic necessities? Like I said, are they trying to kill these guys? Maybe. He pointed to reports of deteriorating mental health on board, as well as shortages of basic supplies, water contamination, an increase in safety incidents, and even disruptions to mail services, through which those on board received care packages. These reports warranted immediate attention, but they also raised a broader question: whether the Navy can sustain the operational tempo now being demanded of its carrier force, particularly as this administration repeatedly commits U.S. forces to conflicts of its own choosing and increasingly relies on, please take that off, relies on aircraft carriers to sustain those operations. Please scroll again. Jen, your turn.
Where are we? Okay. In a list of questions, the senator asked for a clear end date for the mission, how the Navy is measuring mental health metrics, and how the deployment fits into broader goals. Yeah, that's interesting. Like they have goals. Scroll,
Yeah,
please.
yeah, totally.
They have no goals. Okay. Senator Ruben Gallego, also a Democrat, went further, saying the Navy must allow a bipartisan congressional delegation to visit the USS Lincoln to conduct an oversight investigation into this horrible situation. Such delegations have visited war zones to inspect the conditions of our troops. There is no reason to be denied access. Senator Mark Kelly, a former naval officer and astronaut, also called the reports of sailors attempting to jump into the sea disturbing. You think so, Mark? You think? Long deployments are hard. They are a lot harder when the mission isn't well defined, and there is no end in sight, he said, along with a nice link to mental health resources. Thank you, Mark. That's so considerate. The increased attention on the USS Abraham Lincoln comes amid two reports by the Navy Times, Stars and Stripes, Navy Times and Stars and Stripes, two publications that closely follow military affairs. Scroll. Where are we? They cited several family members of military personnel on the vessel who reported declining mental health and morale and cases of suicidal ideation from their loved ones. The Navy Times spoke on the record with the wife of one sailor, identified as, it doesn't matter, who said he had attempted to jump overboard, amid which she describes a severe burnout. So I saw somebody in the chat say something about that there was apparent that there were reports of like a knife fight on board. I don't know about that, but I will say this: you cannot believe or trust anything that you hear from the talking heads about what is going on that aircraft carrier. You cannot. They completely cover what is going on in these carriers. They've been doing that since when I went and visited this USS Saratoga. You guys need to know there was shit that went on. And this was not during a war, mind you. This was not during a war. There would be people, let's say, that would just disappear, never to be seen again. Now, I'm sure that their family was given some weird story when in fact it was whatever was going on the aircraft carrier. So this is really dire. Another woman said her husband told her he had intervened in a separate instance of a shipmate preparing to go overboard. Stars and Stripes said the issue was raised during a town hall meeting last week with Acting Secretary of the Navy Hung Sao in San Diego, from where the Lincoln had last departed in November of 25.
Insane.
On Thursday, CNN reported a sailor went overboard last month and was quickly rescued. The report, citing a U.S. official, said the circumstances of the incident were not clear. No, they're pretty fucking clear. It's pretty clear. It's clear. Because for us to be finding out about it, it has to have happened so many times. It has to have happened so many times because we normally don't get to hear the horrible stuff that goes on in these cases. We never do. So if we're hearing about it, that means that there's more.
Oh, yeah.
All right. Hegseth, meanwhile, said reports of poor conditions were completely misrepresented. Yeah, because we believe him. This coked out fuck who, from what I was saying, couldn't even do any of their basic training stuff. We make sure every ship, every crew, every captain has everything we can provide them at every single moment. Keg's breath said, you know what? Honestly, Peter, I need to refer to the manual. I need to refer to the manual for understanding this piece of shit.
He's just a really scummy bastard. Like he really is.
Well, and I also do think he's on at least a few different things, right? Like he's not sober. He's just not. So he's actually perfect for the Secretary of War position. I can't think of anybody better.
It's the fact that they changed the name. It's just everything. It's the whole, not that
And
the
he's such a
institution.
fucking coward pussy. He's a coward pussy. He says some deployments are longer than others. Really? Really? And I have more respect and gratitude for those sailors than anybody. They don't want your gratitude, Pete. You stupid fuck. What they do in those high seas, in those austere conditions, they're only austere because they don't have what they need from you. That's why the conditions are austere. That's why. With less port calls, it's incredible. Maybe because you don't have a plan. You also have no resources to keep resupplying your people that are at sea. All of these were things that would have been considered by somebody, I don't know, with two brain cells to rub together. The Navy did not immediately respond to Al Jazeera's request for comment. However, it told Stars and Stripes its leadership is continuously conducting assessments to monitor and sustain the psychological readiness of every sailor. Yet they took away the mental health services and the counseling session, the chaplains.
Mm-hmm.
They took them away. So I can see you're very concerned with their mental health. I'm disgusted.
Took away the
I am
chaplain.
disgusted. Every single service person, honestly, needs to say, fuck this, and just walk away. This is ridiculous. And then it's not like, oh, we think they ever treat veterans well, because it's not like they treat veterans well anyway. Once you've served, they're done with you anyway. But this is another level. Because like I said, the regular aircraft carrier was absolutely disgusting. It was filthy. It was disgusting. It smelled. It had fumes. They had lead in their water. And those were in normal, decent. That was typical, decent aircraft carrier conditions. So, and I remember leaving that experience and thinking, and I know this. I can actually say this. There are jails and prisons that are nicer than that aircraft carrier I was on. And that was the USS Saratoga. I have no reason to think it's different or was anything not typical. And I remember leaving there and thinking, yeah, inmates have better conditions. That's how bad we treat our service people. But this, no, these people.
How is there not a mutiny at this point?
Well, I think there are. I mean, we knew what happened when they were clogging up the pipes and they were shoving T-shirts in the toilets and they were trying to do all these things. There has been lots of sabotage going on the inside. We don't hear a lot of that, just like we can't believe what they're saying is going on. And until we get reports from people that are on there, we can't believe anything.
Right.
So that's it.
Is there any more to this?
Is there more? I don't know. It just says they didn't immediately respond.
Okay, no, that might be it.
I think that's it. Yeah.
Okay.
So this is what's going on that. And instead of having a moment of reflection and thinking, okay, well, maybe we need to bring them back. Well, so my understanding is that they have already sent another aircraft carrier, I forget which one, if somebody knows, put it in the chat, to go and replace that. That's at least 10 days away. That's at least 10 days away. So it took conditions to get to this point for them to first consider sending a carrier. But I would also suggest that we are so understaffed, undermanned, like we do not have the military that people think we have. We just don't. We don't. We don't have the service people. We don't have the combat ready service people. We don't have the munitions. We just don't have that. So he's like.
At some point, you hear enough of these stories and you ask
USS
yourself,
Washington. Okay. Thank you, White Claws. Yeah.
You get to a point where you have to ask yourself how many more. It's almost like the dam is breaking. It's going to burst at the seams. How many different ways do you have to look at this and say, I don't have faith in this anymore. I don't know how we're ever going to maintain this illusion of being some type of a democratic republic. We're not. We're a failing empire. And this is just one of many examples of this.
Yeah. It's pathetic. and the whole world sees it.